Morning guys, today we've got this Wolf Landrover. It's a 90 series, so lost drive, doesn't matter what you do with it, no drive to the wheels, to the prop shaft, so could be clutch, could have ripped the centre out of the clutch, could be gearbox, so let's get it pulled apart. Right then, this is the Wolf 90 Landrover, so it's an army thing, 300 TDI. So if I start it up, I can just put it straight into gear. Doesn't matter whether you got the diff lock, slow range, nothing. Straight into gear, no drive. So yeah, let's get it ripped apart. Okay guys, that's the matting removed, the soundproofing removed, so you can see, let's see these screws to hold the floor in. Also on the tunnel here, all the way around that tunnel. So we need to get them out now. A lot of the time you've got to cut these ones off, but it's well worth trying to get these tunnel ones out without cutting them, because it just makes life a lot easier. Everyone you can get out makes life a lot easier. Okay, so I've undone all the centre cover bolts. They've all come undone. Next job is to undo this bolt here and this one here. Swing the handbrake lever out the way, then we can get the cover off. Right then, that's the handbrake mechanism removed. Something to be mindful though, this one hasn't got it on, but some of them, I have to get it in the light, some of them are fitted with a handbrake warning light switch, like this one. This one's disconnected, but it has a little switch on here with a wire. Just be careful you don't damage this when you take it off and putting it back. Okay, so that's the centre tunnel removed, and there you go, you can see the gearbox now. So what we're going to do is remove the diff lock top and the gear stick top, and then that lets it come back and clear the seat base. So to get these off, I'll simply take the pinch bolt out of here, these 4 bolts here, and the 4 bolts out the gear stick top. Okay, one thing I forgot to show you, I've undone this pin out of here. There's a plastic bush in this, so don't lose that. I've marked the shaft in relation to the housing with Tipp-Ex, and then we'll undo this pinch bolt here and pull this off, okay? Right, there we go. There's the gear stick off and the 4-wheel and low ratio housing off. And there we go, you can see the selector for your gearbox there. That's the gearbox selector housing. Right then guys, so now we've got that top off, I thought I'd just have a quick look at this selector, and it's very, very free. Yeah, I think all the ones I've done have been a lot tighter than that. I think the way that's floating about in there, I would say the fault's inside the gearbox, but hey, we'll soon find out. Right, I'm now going to get these floors out and what's left of this little piece of centre tunnel here, okay? Right, that's the passenger side floor out. I managed to get all the screws out, these ones, front ones, but I had to cut these two here off with the grinder on the sill. Always got to cut them off. Right, that's all the floor bolts out on the driver's side. Same as the other side, I had to cut these 2 off. But yeah, that's the floors out. Okay, I've got the Wolf up the height, so the next job is to get rear prop shaft off, front prop shaft off. We'll take those 3 bolts, 3 nuts off the exhaust front pipe, and then undo it by the clamp here, get rid of that section. We'll then get rid of this cross member here, and then undo the bell housing bolts, slave cylinder, and get it dropped off. Okay guys, so that's the cross member removed, the rear prop shaft off, front prop shaft off, the exhaust front pipe is off. Sit down on the floor there. There's the prop shaft and the cross member down there. So next job is to get the speedo cable, which is there, off. Don't bother disconnecting the handbrake cable because that's already disconnected from when we pulled the handbrake lever out of the floor. And then once that's done, we'll undo these bolts here and remove the transfer box just to make it a bit lighter to get the gearbox out. Okay, I've let it back down because the transfer box is coming out. So what we need to do is take this nut off here and lift this selector off. This one you don't need to touch because it's already disconnected here. There's a breather pipe which needs to come off by here, and there's one on the gearbox which is behind there, just there where my finger is. That one there, we have to undo that one when we take the gearbox out, okay? Right, that's them disconnected. You see the two banjo bolts undone, linkage disconnected. Last thing we need to do before we disconnect the transfer box bolts is this little earth bolt here. If you don't undo that, you'll end up with it dangling in mid-air, screaming for someone to try and get that bolt out for you, okay? Okay, so I've got the gearbox supported there. I'm just going to drop these 4 bolts out the side of the gearbox. I've already undone the 4 on the transfer box mount and the nut off, so let's get them out there now. There you go, that's the mount off. 3 bolts out the chassis, so we can drop that transfer box out there now. What I've done just before I drop the transfer box out, it's easier. I've taken the 3 bolts out this side and I've dropped this the main gearbox mount off, okay? Now we can get the transfer box out. What I did, I forgot to take a video of. I dropped the exhaust intermediate pipe off by this bobbin and by this hanger here, and then that let me drop the transfer box out. So that's it there. Transfer box out on the floor. Okay then, with the transfer box out, all we've got to do now is undo bell housing bolts and remove the clutch slave cylinder there, okay? Right then, that's the slave cylinder undone. Top tip, don't press the clutch pedal or you'll blow the guts out. Okay, there you can see all the bell housing bolts are undone, except for a couple which are holding it. There you go, the sides there, all undone, so we'll get the gearbox lifted out now. Right guys, that's the gearbox out. See, it's a lot lighter lump when you get the transfer box off, so I'm just going to get the clutch out there now. Next job, I'll take this clutch out, just to make sure that's alright. I'm not going to do the job twice. So I'll get the clutch out, see what that's like. If that's okay, I'll get a look at the gearbox. Okay, there's a tip for you. Before I've dropped it out, put a bit of Tipex on the driven plate there, see it? If you mark that driven plate, then if it did drop on the floor and it wasn't marked, because some vehicles aren't marked and are different, the drive plates, it has to go the right way, then you know which way it came out. Right, I'm on the last bolt there. Just get this last bolt out of the clutch. There we go. Drop that off. That, the clutch looks alright. Might be the centre. There we go, there's the clutch off. There's the clutch on the floor. So I'm just going to give that an examination and see if it's destroyed. Doesn't look bad. What I'll do, I'll clamp it in the vise and see if I can turn the centre. Right, and I've clamped the driven plate in the vise. I've put an old first motion shaft in there, and it's not knackered. That's just the springs taking up the plate. It's not stripped. So it must be the gearbox. Right, I've gone back over to the gearbox, and I've selected a gear here, and if I turn this first motion shaft, it's not actually turning the output to the transfer box. While he's turning it there, can you hear that horrible noise? Spin it a bit like right round. You can hear something jangling there. So, gearbox is not yet, so we'll get that looked at. Well guys, that's the gearbox out of the Wolf 90 Land Rover. It's lost its drive, gearbox is knackered. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you like how to get the gearbox out there, and it helps anyone that needs to do one. So yeah, good fun vehicle to work on. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again with another Ken's Jobs.